The morning sun cast long shadows across the palace grounds as William stood by the large window in his private study. His hands trembled slightly as he held the letter from the royal physicians. The words blurred together, but their meaning was crystal clear. Kate had been fighting her illness for months now, always with that brave smile that had captured his heart years ago at university. She never complained, never showed weakness, but William could see the pain in her eyes when she thought no one was looking. Kate was in the garden with their children, Charlotte and George, teaching them how to plant roses. Her laughter carried on the gentle breeze, and for a moment, William could almost forget the devastating news. She wore a simple blue dress that brought out her eyes, the same eyes that had looked at him with such love on their wedding day. The children were covered in soil, giggling as their mother showed them how to dig the perfect hole for each delicate plant. "Mummy, will these flowers grow forever?" Charlotte asked innocently, her small hands dirty but determined. Kate paused, her smile faltering for just a second before she recovered. "Some things last forever in different ways, darling. Even when flowers fade, they leave seeds for new ones to grow." William watched from the window, his heart breaking at the hidden meaning in her words. She was already preparing their children in her gentle way for what was to come. The doctors had given them a timeline that felt impossibly short. Months, maybe weeks, but certainly not the lifetime they had planned together. Later that evening, after the children were tucked safely in their beds, William and Kate sat together in their favorite spot by the fireplace. The crackling flames cast dancing shadows on the walls, creating an intimate atmosphere that had always been their sanctuary. Kate curled up beside him, her head resting on his shoulder like she had done countless times before. "You read the letter?" she said softly. Not a question, but a statement. She always knew him too well. William nodded, unable to trust his voice. His arm tightened around her, as if he could somehow keep her safe just by holding her close enough. "I'm not afraid," Kate whispered, her fingers tracing patterns on his chest. "I'm only sad about leaving you and the children. Everything else, all the royal duties, the public appearances, none of that matters anymore. It's just us, our family, our love." The weight of unspoken words hung heavy in the air. William knew that Kate was the strongest person he had ever met, but even she couldn't fight this battle. The woman who had stood by his side through every challenge, who had brought such joy and normalcy to his life, was slowly slipping away from him. "What do we tell them?" William asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Kate lifted her head to look at him, her eyes bright with unshed tears but still filled with that incredible strength that had drawn him to her from the very beginning. "We tell them the truth in words they can understand. We tell them that love doesn't end, even when people have to go away." Outside, the wind picked up, rustling through the trees that had stood guard over the palace for generations. Inside, two people who had found their fairy tale love story were facing the hardest chapter they would ever have to write together. But even in the face of such heartbreak, their love remained unshakable, a foundation strong enough to carry them through whatever time they had left. The next few weeks passed like pages turning in a book that William wished he could slow down. Kate grew thinner, but her spirit remained as bright as ever. She spent her mornings with the children, reading them stories and helping with their lessons. Her afternoons were filled with quiet moments, writing letters and organizing photo albums, creating memories that would last long after she was gone. William canceled all his official engagements, much to the concern of palace staff. He couldn't bear to spend a single moment away from Kate when their time was becoming so precious. The press had begun to notice his absence from public events, but the palace simply announced that the family was taking some private time together. One afternoon, Kate called William to their bedroom. She was sitting on their bed, surrounded by boxes of photographs spanning their entire relationship. Pictures from their university days, their engagement, their wedding, holidays with the children, and countless candid moments that told the story of their love. "I want to make something special for the children," she said, her voice weak but determined. "A book of our story, so they'll always know how much we loved each other and how much we loved them." William sat beside her, picking up a photo from their honeymoon. Kate looked radiant in a simple sundress, laughing at something he had said. He remembered that exact moment, the way the sunset had painted her hair golden, the way she had looked at him like he was her whole world. "Tell me about this one," Kate said, pointing to a picture of them at a charity event from just 2 years ago. You wore that green dress that you said made you feel like a princess. William smiled, the memory bittersweet. You spent the whole evening talking to the children at the hospital, and you gave away your earrings to that little girl who said they were pretty. Kate laughed softly. I remember. You bought me new ones the next week, but they never meant as much as seeing her smile. They spent hours going through the photographs, each one triggering stories and memories that Kate carefully wrote down. She wanted every detail preserved, every moment of joy documented for their children to discover when they were older. That evening, William found Kate in the nursery they had prepared for their third child, the baby they would never have. She was sitting in the rocking chair, staring out the window at the stars beginning to appear in the darkening sky. I used to imagine singing lullabies in this room, she said without turning around. I had names picked out, William. I had dreams about watching our children grow up, seeing them graduate, get married, have children of their own. William knelt beside the rocking chair, taking her hands in his. You'll still be part of all of that, he said firmly. Every milestone, every celebration, every important moment, you'll be there in our hearts. Kate turned to face him, tears streaming down her cheeks. How will you do it without me?
How will you raise them alone?
I won't be alone, William replied, his own eyes filling with tears. I'll have all the love you've given me, all the wisdom you've shared, all the strength you've shown me. You've taught me how to be the father they need. Outside, rain began to fall gently against the windows, as if the sky itself was mourning the approaching loss. But inside that quiet nursery, surrounded by hopes and dreams that would never be fulfilled, two people held each other tightly, finding comfort in their unbreakable bond even as time continued its relentless march forward. The conversation with the children came on a quiet Sunday morning. Kate had been having more difficult days, spending most of her time resting, but she insisted on being the one to tell George and Charlotte the truth. William sat beside her on the large sofa in their private sitting room, watching as their children played with their toys on the carpet, completely unaware that their world was about to change forever. George, Charlotte, come sit with Mummy and Daddy, Kate called softly, patting the cushions beside them. The children climbed up eagerly, George snuggling into William's side while Charlotte curled up next to Kate. Their innocent faces looked up expectantly, perhaps thinking this was story time or a game. We need to talk to you about something very important, Kate began, her voice steady despite the magnitude of what she was about to say. You know how Mummy hasn't been feeling very well lately? Charlotte nodded solemnly. You've been sleeping a lot and you get tired when we play. That's right, sweetheart. Well, Mummy is very sick and the doctors can't make me better this time. Kate's voice caught slightly, but she continued with remarkable composure. That means I'm going to have to go away soon and I won't be able to come back. George, who was only 6, looked confused. Like when you go on trips for work? But you always come back. William's throat tightened as he watched his son try to understand something that even adults struggled to comprehend. Nobody, he said gently. This is different. When people are very, very sick sometimes, they have to go to heaven. The word hung in the air like a weight. Charlotte's eyes filled with tears as understanding dawned on her 8-year-old mind. You mean like great-grandmother? She went to heaven and never came back. Kate nodded, pulling Charlotte closer. Exactly like that. But listen to me very carefully, both of you. Just because I have to go doesn't mean I won't still love you. Love doesn't end ever. It stays in your heart forever. George began to cry, big tears rolling down his cheeks. But I don't want you to go. I want you to stay and read me stories and help me with my homework. Oh, my sweet boy, Kate whispered, lifting him onto her lap despite her weakness. I want that too, more than anything in the whole world. But sometimes we don't get to choose what happens to us. What we can choose is how we spend the time we have left together. William watched his family, his heart breaking into pieces that he wasn't sure could ever be put back together. These children, so young and innocent, were learning about loss and grief far too early. But he was also amazed by Kate's strength, her ability to comfort their children even while facing her own fears. What will happen to us? Charlotte asked, her voice small and frightened. Daddy will take care of you, Kate assured her. And Grandma Diana, even though she's in heaven too, will be watching over all of us. You'll have Grandpa Charles and Grandma Camilla and Uncle Harry, and so many people who love you very much. The family spent the rest of the morning talking, crying, and holding each other. Kate answered every question with patience and honesty, explaining that she would always be proud of them. that she would miss them terribly, and that they should never feel guilty about being happy or having fun after she was gone. "Can we still talk to you when you're in heaven?" George asked, his small hand clutching Kate's. "Every single day," Kate promised. "You can tell me about school, about your friends, about anything that makes you happy or sad. I'll always be listening." Later, after the children had gone to play in their rooms, processing this enormous news in their own way, William and Kate sat together in exhausted silence. They had crossed a bridge there was no returning from. Spoken words that couldn't be taken back. "They're so brave," Kate whispered, leaning against William's shoulder. "They get that from you," he replied, kissing the top of her head. Outside, life continued as normal. Cars drove past the palace gates, people went about their daily routines, the world kept spinning. But inside those walls, a family was learning to say goodbye, one precious moment at a time. As autumn arrived, painting the palace gardens in shades of gold and crimson, Kate's condition grew worse. She had good days and bad days, but the good days were becoming fewer and more precious. William had moved a hospital bed into their bedroom, but Kate stubbornly refused to use it during the day, preferring to rest on their sofa where she could watch the children play through the window. The children had adapted to their new reality with the resilience that only children possess. They spoke more quietly around their mother, brought her drawings and flowers from the garden, and took turns reading to her from their favorite books. Charlotte had become especially protective, often sitting beside Kate's chair doing her homework so she could be close by if needed. One particularly beautiful October morning, Kate woke up feeling stronger than she had in weeks. The pain that had become her constant companion seemed to have retreated, giving her a gift of clarity and energy that she knew might be her last. "William," she said, gently shaking his shoulder as he slept beside her. "Wake up. I want to do something special today." William opened his eyes, immediately alert to any change in Kate's condition. He had become an expert at reading the subtle signs of her pain, her fatigue, her needs. "What is it? Are you feeling all right?" "I feel good today," she said with a smile that reminded him of the girl he had fallen in love with at university. "I want to have one perfect day with our family. Just us, no doctors, no nurses, no medicine schedules. One day where we pretend everything is normal." William studied her face, seeing a determination and peace there that both comforted and frightened him. "What did you have in mind?" "Let's have a picnic in the garden. The weather is beautiful. The leaves are perfect, and the children love eating outside. We can play games, take pictures, just be a normal family for a few hours." Within an hour, the palace staff had prepared a magnificent picnic spread on the large blanket Kate had chosen from their linen closet. Sandwiches cut into fun shapes, fresh fruit, homemade cookies, and thermoses of hot chocolate for the crisp autumn air. William carried Kate to the garden, despite her protests that she could walk, and settled her comfortably against a pile of cushions. George and Charlotte ran around them in circles, their laughter echoing across the grounds as they played tag and collected the prettiest fallen leaves. Kate watched them with such joy and love that William found himself memorizing every detail of her expression, storing it away for the lonely days he knew were coming. "Look, Mummy," Charlotte called out, running over with a handful of bright red maple leaves. "These ones match your lipstick." Kate laughed, a sound that William realized he hadn't heard in weeks. "They're perfect, sweetheart. Should we press them in a book so we can keep them forever?" The afternoon passed like a dream. They ate their picnic lunch while Kate told funny stories about William's clumsiness when they were dating. The children giggled as she described how he had fallen into a pond trying to impress her during a university boat race. William had the palace photographer discreetly capture candid moments, knowing these would be the last family photos they would ever take together. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks, Kate asked William to help her walk to their favorite rose garden. The children ran ahead playing hide-and-seek among the carefully manicured hedges. Kate moved slowly, leaning heavily on William's arm, but she was determined to reach the bench where they often sat during quiet evenings. "This is where you proposed," she said softly, settling onto the familiar wooden seat. "You remember everything," William marveled, sitting beside her and wrapping his arms around her fragile form. "I remember because it was perfect. You were so nervous and your hands were shaking so badly you almost dropped the ring. But your words were perfect. You said you wanted to spend the rest of your life making me as happy as I made you." "I meant every word," William whispered, his voice thick with emotion. You did make me happy, William. Happier than I ever dreamed possible. These have been the best years of my life, even the hard ones, even now. Don't ever doubt that. They sat together as darkness began to fall, watching their children chase fireflies that danced among the roses like tiny magic lights. It was a moment of perfect peace, a memory that would have to last William a lifetime. When they finally returned to the house, Kate was exhausted but glowing with contentment. As William helped her get ready for bed, she turned to him with tears of gratitude in her eyes. "Thank you for today," she whispered. "It was exactly what I needed." That night, Kate slept more peacefully than she had in months, a small smile on her lips as if she was dreaming of their perfect autumn day. The weeks following their perfect autumn day seemed to pass in a blur of quiet moments and gentle routines. Kate grew weaker, spending most of her time in their bedroom, but she remained determined to be present for her children's daily lives. Each morning, George and Charlotte would climb into bed with their parents for cuddles and stories before getting ready for their private lessons. Kate had been working on something special during her wakeful hours in the quiet of the night. When sleep eluded her, she would write letters to her children for all the important moments she would miss. Letters for their birthdays, graduations, wedding days, and the birth of their own children. William would often wake to find her at the small desk by the window, writing by lamplight, tears streaming down her face as she poured her heart onto paper. "What will I tell them when they ask about you?" William asked one evening as he helped her seal another envelope marked, "For Charlotte's 16th birthday." "Tell them I was proud to be their mother," Kate replied without hesitation. "Tell them I loved watching them grow, even the parts I won't get to see. Tell them that every prayer I ever said was for their happiness and safety." The palace had become a sanctuary of whispers and gentle movements. The staff moved quietly through the halls, understanding without being told that this was a time for family privacy. Flowers arrived daily from around the world as news of Kate's condition had finally been shared with the public. The outpouring of love and support was overwhelming, but Kate found comfort in reading some of the letters from ordinary people whose lives she had touched. One particularly touching letter came from a young mother who wrote, "Your Royal Highness, you held my son when he was sick in the hospital 3 years ago. You told him he was brave and strong, and he never forgot those words. He beat his illness, and he still talks about the princess who believed in him. Thank you for showing us what grace looks like." Kate wept as William read the letter aloud, overwhelmed by the reminder that her life had mattered beyond her own family. She had always tried to use her position to bring comfort and hope to others, and knowing that those efforts had made a real difference brought her peace. The hardest part was watching William struggle with his own grief while trying to stay strong for everyone else. Kate could see the exhaustion in his eyes, the way his shoulders had begun to slope under the weight of his sorrow. He rarely left her side, sleeping in the chair next to their bed and handling all royal duties from their bedroom when possible. "You need to take care of yourself too," Kate told him one afternoon as he dozed in his chair, still holding her hand. "The children will need you to be strong after I'm gone." William stirred, immediately alert. "I'm fine," he insisted, though his pale complexion and the dark circles under his eyes told a different story. "Promise me something," Kate said, her voice weak but urgent. "Promise me you'll let yourself grieve. Don't try to be perfect for everyone else. Cry when you need to cry, be angry when you need to be angry, and don't feel guilty about finding joy again someday." "Kate, I can't think about that right now." "You have to," she insisted with more strength than she had shown in days. "You have to promise me that you'll live, really live, not just exist. You have so much love to give, so much good you can do in this world. Don't let losing me stop you from being the incredible man I fell in love with." That evening, Kate asked to see each of her children alone for a private conversation. She spoke with Charlotte first, holding her daughter's hands as they sat together on the bed. "You're going to be the big sister now," Kate told her gently. "That's a very important job. It means looking out for George, but also letting Daddy take care of both of you." "I'll take good care of him, Mummy," Charlotte promised solemnly. "I know you will, sweetheart. But remember, you're still just a little girl, too. It's okay to feel sad. It's okay to miss me. And it's okay to ask for help when you need it." With George, Kate's conversation was simpler but no less meaningful. She told him stories about when he was a baby, reminded him how proud she was of his kind heart, and made him promise to always remember how much she loved him. "Will you watch me play football from heaven, Mummy?" he asked with the innocent faith of a child. Every single game, Kate promised, kissing his forehead. I'll be cheering the loudest even if you can't hear me. As winter began to settle over the palace grounds, Kate felt a strange sense of completion. She had said the words that needed to be said, created the memories that would sustain her family, and found peace with the life she had lived. Now all that remained was the hardest part of all, the actual letting go. December arrived with an unusual warmth, as if nature itself was being gentle during these final days. Kate had grown so weak that she rarely left their bed, but her mind remained clear and her spirit somehow seemed to glow brighter as her body grew more fragile. The doctors had quietly informed William that it would be a matter of days now, not weeks. The children had been staying closer to home. Their lessons moved to the palace so they could spend more time with their mother. They seemed to sense with the intuition that children possess that their time was running short. Charlotte would sit by Kate's bedside reading her favorite books aloud, while George would show her his drawings and tell her elaborate stories about the adventures of his toy soldiers. William had barely slept in weeks, catching short naps in the chair beside their bed, always within reach if Kate needed anything. He had watched the love of his life fade gradually, like a beautiful sunset that you know is ending but can't bear to look away from. On a particularly peaceful afternoon, Kate asked William to open all the curtains and windows despite the winter air. I want to hear the birds, she explained, her voice barely above a whisper now. And I want to see the sky. As the fresh air filled the room, Kate closed her eyes and smiled. Do you remember our first date? She asked suddenly. You took me to that little cafe near campus and I spilled coffee all over my white sweater. William laughed softly, the memory vivid despite everything else happening. You were so embarrassed, but I thought you looked beautiful even with a brown stain across your front. That's when I knew I was falling in love with you. I was already in love with you, Kate confessed, opening her eyes to look at him. From the first time you smiled at me in art history class. I never told you that. They spent the afternoon sharing memories, filling in details of their love story that had somehow never been spoken aloud. Kate told him about the night she knew she wanted to marry him, how proud she felt watching him with their children, and how grateful she was for every ordinary moment they had shared. As evening approached, Kate asked to see the children one more time. William gently woke them from their afternoon nap and brought them to the bedroom. They climbed carefully onto the bed, one on each side of their mother, as if they were creating a protective circle around her. I want to tell you both something very important, Kate said, her voice growing stronger with effort. No matter what happens, no matter how sad you feel, I want you to remember that you made my life perfect. Being your mummy was the greatest gift I ever received. Charlotte began to cry quietly, understanding more than her young brother about what these words meant. George simply snuggled closer to Kate, content to feel her gentle hand stroking his hair. Promise me you'll take care of each other. Kate continued. Promise me you'll be kind to people who need help, that you'll use your voices to make the world better, and that you'll always remember how much love there is in this family. We promise, Mummy, Charlotte whispered through her tears. And promise me you'll let Daddy take care of you and that you'll take care of him too. He's going to be very sad for a while and he'll need extra hugs and patience. The children nodded solemnly. Understanding their mother was giving them important instructions for the future. That night, after the children had been tucked into bed with extra stories and cuddles from both parents, William and Kate lay together in the darkness. Kate's breathing had become labored and William could feel how much effort each breath required. I'm scared, Kate admitted quietly, the first time she had acknowledged her fear throughout this entire ordeal. What are you scared of? William asked, holding her closer. I'm scared you'll forget the sound of my laugh. I'm scared the children will forget the songs I used to sing to them. I'm scared that without me here to remind you, you'll forget how much you're loved. William felt tears streaming down his face in the darkness. I could never forget any of that, he promised. Your laugh is my favorite sound in the world. The children sing your songs every day, and I'll spend the rest of my life making sure they know how much their mother loved them. Will you find love again someday? Kate asked, her question surprising him. William was quiet for a long moment. I can't imagine loving anyone the way I love you. You don't have to love someone the same way, Kate said gently. But don't close your heart forever. The children will need to see that love doesn't end when loss happens, it just changes and grows in different directions. As the night deepened, Kate's breathing became more peaceful. She drifted in and out of sleep, But each time she woke, William was there, holding her hand and whispering words of love and comfort. "Thank you," she said near dawn, her eyes still closed. "Thank you for the most beautiful life." Those were the last words she spoke. As the sun rose on a new day, painting the sky in soft pastels outside their window, Kate slipped away quietly, surrounded by love and peace, her hand still held safely in William's. The world seemed to stand still in the hours after Kate's peaceful passing. William sat beside her for a long time, holding her hand and memorizing her face in the soft morning light. She looked serene, almost like she was simply sleeping, with a gentle smile that suggested she had found the peace she had been seeking. When the children woke, William gathered them in the sitting room where Kate had told them her first truth about being sick. His heart broke all over again as he saw their hopeful faces, still expecting their mother to appear for their morning cuddles. "Mummy went to heaven during the night," William told them gently, pulling them both onto his lap. "She wasn't in pain and she was thinking about how much she loves us." The grief that followed was unlike anything William had ever experienced. Charlotte cried for hours, great sobbing tears that seemed too big for her small body. George, not fully understanding the permanence of death, kept asking when Mummy would come back from heaven. William found himself crying with them, all of Kate's words about letting himself grieve echoing in his mind. The funeral was a magnificent tribute to a life well lived. Thousands of people lined the streets of London, many of them crying openly as the procession passed. The flowers, the cards, the teddy bears left at palace gates created a sea of love and remembrance that stretched for blocks. Inside Westminster Abbey, William stood with his children, surrounded by family and friends, as the world said goodbye to their beloved Catherine. The Archbishop spoke about Kate's devotion to her family and her service to others. He read from letters written by people whose lives she had touched, children she had comforted in hospitals, families she had supported through difficult times, and countless individuals who had been inspired by her grace and kindness. George held William's hand throughout the service, occasionally whispering questions about why everyone was crying. Charlotte sat with remarkable composure, clutching the small bouquet of roses she had picked from their garden, the same roses Kate had taught her to plant months earlier. In the weeks that followed, William struggled to find his footing in a world without Kate. The palace felt enormous and empty. Despite being filled with the same staff and the constant presence of his children, he found himself listening for her laughter, reaching for her hand in the night, and saving up stories throughout the day that he wanted to share with her before remembering she wasn't there to hear them. The children grieved in their own ways. Charlotte became quiet and serious, taking on responsibilities beyond her years and often trying to comfort William when she thought he looked particularly sad. George would sometimes run to their bedroom calling for Mummy, forgetting for a moment that she was gone. And William's heart would shatter anew each time reality set in. But slowly, gradually, they began to heal. William started reading Kate's letters aloud to the children, sharing her words about birthdays and achievements and dreams for their futures. They created new traditions like Sunday morning pancakes in bed and evening walks in the garden, where they would talk to Kate among her beloved roses. 3 months after Kate's death, William found Charlotte in the nursery that Kate had once prepared for their third child. She was sitting in the rocking chair, holding one of her mother's scarves and crying quietly. "I miss her so much, Daddy," Charlotte whispered when she saw him. William sat on the floor beside the chair, reaching up to take his daughter's hand. "I miss her too, sweetheart. Every single day. Do you think she can really hear us when we talk to her?" William considered his answer carefully. "I think love is stronger than anything, even death. So yes, I believe she hears every word, sees every smile, and feels every hug we send her way." Charlotte smiled through her tears. "Then I'm going to tell her about my school project tomorrow." She always liked to hear about those. As spring returned to the palace gardens, bringing new life to the roses Kate had loved so much, William began to understand what she had meant about love changing and growing in different directions. Their love story hadn't ended with her death. It had simply transformed into something that would live on in their children, in the memories they shared, and in the way they chose to honor her life by living their own with kindness, courage, and hope. The quiet goodbye had indeed brought millions to tears, but it had also brought something else, a reminder that true love never really ends, it just finds new ways to bloom.